Welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's Vacation Station Travel Show. Whenever it is the fourth Tuesday of the month, that means we get to chat with the Fire Monkey. That means it's travel writer Debbie Stone's segment here on Big Blend Radio. And today she's joining us to talk about her adventures on the Long Beach Peninsula in Washington State. Her story is up on nationalparktraveling.com and will also be in the upcoming issue of Parks and Travel magazine. So welcome back, Fire Monkey. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, doing good, doing good. I'm excited about this conversation because, you know, you covered Astoria. Well, you've done a lot in Oregon and Washington State. We know how much you love it there, and you've also lived there. But last year you covered Astoria, and then Nancy and I went right near there. We were in Ilwaco, everybody's got a different way of saying it, but we were right there, and we did go to Astoria. And we were able to say, oh, Debbie was here, Debbie was there. And now I'm going, oh my gosh, you're writing about all the places that I walked a dog, a really cool dog called Amber, and even did some of the Discovery Trail. And we did go to Long Beach itself, but it's amazing now you did some of the things we didn't get a chance to do, like the museums and stuff like that. So I'm like super excited to hear what, you experienced. So this is fun. Have you been to that area before, or because you've kind of like pieced the whole coastline together, I feel like.
Yeah, I have been to parts of it. I have been to Long Beach for the Kite Festival several years ago. So I had been to the Long Beach area, and I had done a little bit of, I think, one of the museums, but I had not like gone from kind of south to north. I had not gone the full length of this wonderful swath of land that, I think people would absolutely adore, especially if they're in the area, to be able to go on this peninsula, because it really is, it's a very special, I think, almost magical area. And there's so much to offer here, from the history to, if you're a lighthouse person who loves lighthouses and who doesn't, beaches and views and, forests and anything. And then, of course, wonderful seafood, which that I love very dearly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's got something for everyone. So I encourage people, if you're in the Seattle area, it's a couple hours from Seattle, a couple hours from Portland if you're in Portland, Oregon. So you can access it at various junctures. And, if you want to just stay on the southern area of it and stick to, that area, or if you want to go all the way up, it's not like it's that long of a drive at all.
No, it's not. And it's beautiful. I mean, getting there and leaving there, it's beautiful. The whole area, I mean, it's just awesome to go to. It's just so scenic. And what gets me is the change, how the weather changes like constantly.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's sometimes it's mystical, sometimes it's magical, sometimes it's like drama. And at the same, and then it's when it's sunny, then it's like, ooh, let's play, but it feels I feel like you step back in time, but you're still in the present moment there. It's just a weird thing on that, but also the landscape, the nature, the biodiversity to me, because you can go to wetlands and marshes, and then you're going to go to the beach, and then there's sandy beaches, but then there's beaches with like the big rugged drama.
Yes.
And wind.
Yes.
Lots of wind.
Lots of wind. And then, in fact, I said, it doesn't even matter what season or what weather you're in. To me, I happen to be there in winter, and that to me is a pretty special time, because you can get some incredible storms. You get a very wild and rugged ingredient in there. And so, I tell people not to shy away from visiting this area, whatever season, because something is special every season there as well, But I think, if you're a history buff, you just will absolutely adore it, because there's just so much Lewis and Clark history there, and
Mm.
Cape Disappointment, which is incredibly this state park is a very popular and favorite state park for the state of Washington. But it's, it has the lighthouses, and it has, trails. It has the wonderful Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center, which I really I want to put a plug in for that, because if you want to know about their incredible, arduous 18-month, 3,700-mile trek from St. Louis, which ended at Cape Disappointment in 1805, then this is the place. Definitely, this is the place to go and be there and actually say to yourself, this is what they were looking at when they found it and saw it, for the first time.
And then it was that area where they ended up being there for that whole winter. Weren't they there for almost a year at one point? It was like a long time.
They had to winter there. They had to go there for the winter, and but it's just wonderful. And the two lighthouses are accessible. One you take on a trail from the Interpretive Center. The other you can drive up the parking lot and then just take a very short stroll and see that one. And the views are incredible. And I'm a romantic when it comes to lighthouses. I just I love them so much. I think they're very, very picturesque and photo friendly, and just have all this history and magical aspect to it.
And there were women lighthouse keepers. I've been threatening to do a show on that for years. I think we should just do a lighthouse show one day, because it's just so.
Yes.
Don't start me. And I almost started a Facebook group on lighthouses. Like, that's how it's a sickness. I have it.
It's incredible. And, it's a North Head Lighthouse, which is the other lighthouse in Cape Disappointment. You can, stay in this old, century-old lighthouse keeper's quarters. They've made it into vacation rentals, basically, which give you a sense of what it's like to be there. And it is one of the windiest spots in the country. So it's kind of cool, to be in there and, kind of got a fire going, and, you hear these winds, and it's like you imagine what it is if you were a lighthouse keeper there.
But I love that you talk about the wind this way, because, I mean, of course, you're from Chicago, so you understand wind. but there's, we used to live in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, which is the windy city too. But the wind has this other magic thing going on. There's some energy that goes with it. And when you're up in the Pacific Northwest, and where we were, Long Beach and Long Beach itself, isn't it what is it, the longest beach, or what was that? Anyway,
it is.
It was so windy. People are out flying their kites.
Oh yeah.
And I love to go to places where you go, oh, I don't want to get out in the wind or the cold. And you see the locals out there flying their kites and looking at you like, you have not embraced our region yet. But the seagulls will sit on your car and while you're there, if you don't get out. But the wind is it's something to embrace. And when you were talking about, like, the actual people in the lighthouses, but I felt when that whole coastline that we did, like all the way up Oregon, North Crescent City in Northern California, all the way up Trinidad, all of that, you see all this maritime history, and it just brings you home, like, to the history of World War II, because we kind of forget that, and nuclear war history as well, and the maritime history, and then all of those statues and of the woman, like, looking out, it's like an angel hoping that her husband comes home, or her brother or father coming home, kind of thing, like, with a little light, always keeping the light on for the sailors. And when you hear if you're there on a sunny day and it's perfect, you don't have that feeling like when you're there and it's misty and gloomy and it's windy. Then you start to feel like what those sailors did out on those ships. That's what, to me, is so important about the wind, is to feel what it's like to be the sailor, whether you were, in a war history, or, in war, or, in the watching position, like the lighthouses are but the fishermen, I mean, it's not an easy life fishing out there. It's not at all.
And people don't understand, these lighthouses were created because this is a really treacherous body of water. They call it the graveyard of the Pacific because of the number of shipwrecks that have occurred there. You're talking about an area where, the Pacific is meeting the Columbia River kind of thing. And it is a tough place. And anybody who has done any amount of, whether sailing or in boats in that area can tell you that. But that is the reason why they built a second lighthouse, is because of the fact that they just had so many shipwrecks there. And so, you really get to feel for yourself. If it is one of those days, you really get to feel for yourself and realize the lighthouse, how necessary and significant it was at that time. And that it still is, of course, they don't have keepers there now, but everything is automated, but they are still in operation.
Mm. That's amazing, though, to go there and to have that. And you went to the Columbia Pacific Heritage Museum that we really wanted to go to.
Oh, that's in Ilwaco, and which is this really charming small little community. It's a working port, and they have this award-winning museum, the Columbia Pacific Heritage Museum, which really talks about a couple of different things. One is the Chinook people who were there first. And then it talks about the various industries of the area, the cranberry, the fishing, the logging industries. There was a railroad that once went through there. And so, I was surprised. I'm always surprised when you go to these small communities and then you find these gems of museums that are there that are just so well done. And you're like, wow, this is amazing. And you didn't expect this to be in a small little town.
Mm-mm. No, and there's a garden. There's a Indigenous people's garden around the corner from it that we went to. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And then, because, we were pet sitting while we were there. And so our timing wasn't always working. We were right by the fire station, by the way, which we were told that the fire station actually caught on fire one year. And so they had to evacuate themselves from their own fire station.
Oh, my God.
I know, but we had a great view when we were there. I got to see firemen all day long. It was fantastic. I just say. But we'd walk up and down the port, and that was so interesting about being on a working port. There are people on their boats visiting, and not as much probably as like it would be in the summer. But it was really interesting because I think we walked by that hotel every morning that you stayed at. The Helm, are we in the same place?
Yeah, at the Helm was where we made our home base. It is such a cool place. I really have to put a plug in there. It's just an awesome place. It used to be an old bank, and the woman who took it on had a vision of a very cool kind of laid back luxury type of place that's right on the harbor front. A lot of repurposed wood, a lot of open, lots of air, open air, a lot of light. There's a very cool, the Waterline pub is there that they have. It's just, it's a great place, and it's a really nice place to just kind of set your base for, because like I said, everything is very, very reachable in driving on the peninsula. But it was a wonderful place to come back to because Ilwaco is a very peaceful community. It was lovely, just lovely.
When you went there, you were talking about that you get they'll give you beer or wine when you check in.
Yeah.
And I was so cool to see inside. I was like all excited because we kept, we were walking a dog outside there. I'm like, I want in there. I want to see, because it's so, you want to know. So it was really cool to see because the room seemed so like well done. Like they let you have spaciousness and not overdone, the way they designed them. But then I was reading like, okay, so they give you a beer or a glass of wine when you check in, bathrobes, you got premium linens, and you've got a view of the harbor, which is to me the thing, And then if all these bathrobes, and you've got a 50-inch flat screen TV. I mean, wow, a zero water filtering system. What is that? Like, what am I missing here in life? And snacks. You got snacks.
The snacks. I mean, I've really never been into a hotel room where you're not like you're going to be, dinged if you touch a snack that's cost something. Here they have these
here's your
$3,000
mini bar bill.
Right. Right, and so they have this lovely snack basket, which was great. I mean, it was just, and not only that, then that every morning they deliver a hot breakfast to you. So it was like,
Mm.
wow. They come in with a tray of food. You sit down at the little table. We looked out at the harbor, and it was everything about it was just wonderful. I mean, it was truly a wonderful place, a wonderful experience, friendly people, and a good location. I think, in my opinion.
But what's interesting is you talk about cranberries, and that was something
Oh
that
yeah,
blew my mind because we went to a wildlife refuge out there, and it is among the cranberries. And we
right.
really wanted to see elk because I know there's elk there. I saw elk near Astoria, and I got all excited. But they were like,
Yeah,
I couldn't stop and, all of that, but because we
right.
weren't in a park area. But I really wanted to see elk. But this wildlife refuge goes in all these different areas. I mean, we
Yeah.
trolled around all over, and there's this one part they had an art walk in a wildlife refuge with giant feathers representing different endangered species of birds.
Ooh.
And it was this art walk with salmon, so they had like salmon cuttings on trees, and it just was this cute little way to understand the area. It was on the way to Oysterville
Yeah,
that we
well, there's
saw that.
one there, the Walapa Bay.
Yeah.
There's a nature area. There's a couple of different nature areas. We walked in one that was actually kind of at the tip, almost at the top of the peninsula, and walked in one of those. And there was like we saw one person the entire time we were walking through there. And
Mm.
it's just if you like those old growth forests, if you like these bluffs and dunes and all that kind of stuff, this place has just got it all. And then to top it off, in one of the communities in Seaview, there's like these Victorian homes that are dotting the
Mm.
streets. And it used to be a summer retreat for wealthy Portlanders, people living in Portland. And so it's kind of like, you're like, oh my gosh, this flash to the past. And then Oysterville, as you know, is also another historic community. And to me, it's very charming. They have these National Register of Historic Places, these houses. There's an old church. There's a one-room schoolhouse. And you can, stroll through this little area and look at the houses, which have information. They'll tell you what name of the house is, but they're all dating back to 1800s, and they've been really beautifully restored. But you'll feel like I wrote about that. You'll feel like you're on this movie backlot. You know what I mean? When
Mhm.
you're walking through there. So
Yeah.
I loved it. That was one of
I
my favorite places.
Oysterville, I felt like we're in a movie set, quite frankly.
Uh-huh.
I,
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
did. And then the courthouse. I don't know if you saw the
Oh,
courthouse. It was magic. I mean, because we document courthouses, it's a whole other thing. But and when we were there, and there was law and order drama of how they got it because there was thievery and all kinds of things that happened. I can't tell the whole story because I don't have all those notes in front of me, but the courthouse is like a big deal. Why they had to put it there because somebody tried to burn one down or something. There was drama, like, and that's how it ended up being there. And it also goes back to even the War of 1812. It really impacted this whole region. We've got World War
yeah.
II, 1812, because you're so close to the border of Canada too. And of course you're, in the Pacific Northwest. So it was really interesting to me to see that. But you have got to have been, I mean, there's so much to see. The world's largest frying pan and the razor clam. Did
Well,
you
Long
put
Beach,
money in
yeah.
the Did you do that? The razor clam shell, put the money in there, and
Yes, and
yes.
Long Beach is just, like you were talking about the Discovery Trail. Well, it goes alongside of the boardwalk, which is a major area for people to stroll. Where you get the views of the water and the dunes, but the Discovery Trail goes around it, on the side of it, underneath it, kind of thing. And that is the area, that boardwalk and that whole area is the area where the Kite Festival happens every August. So it is like the place to be if you're interested in this incredible. I found it amazing. It's an international kite festival, so they get people from all over the place. And
Mm.
there is a kite museum in Long Beach as well. You can go in there, the World Kite Museum, and learn everything you wanted to know about kites and more. And back to the whole Oysterville. I'm not an oyster eater, but I know people that
Mm.
are, and they're you can go to the sea farms there in Oysterville. It's a wonderful place where you can go inside this little building and get your fresh clams, your fresh oysters, your shooters, shrimp cocktails, and you can sit out there and look at the bay, and it's wonderful. So there is, even though Oysterville is not doing everything that it used to do, because it was such a big industry there. There is, this Oysterville Sea Farms that are keeping things going. They're continuing that industry and that trend.
This is, to me, I know Nancy and I don't eat seafood, but you had to have had some good food. From your article, it sounded you may not eat oysters, but that's the one thing. Like sometimes Nancy and I are in places, and we're like, "Where's Debbie to come and eat the food that people need to talk about?" So I'm really glad we can balance each other out. We did a lot of picnics because we ended up just, out in nature. But
right,
like when we were in Oysterville, there was this taco shop that had lines, and a coffee shop that was right by the giant oyster.
Yes, yes.
And I'm like, seriously, lines. People, this was, and it wasn't anything fancy, let me tell you. It was just like this. It's, I couldn't, people knew to get there at a specific time. I don't know what was going on, but they knew. And but I think a lot of people fish and do their own thing. There's a lot of all the parks pretty much have a fishing thing, a clamming thing, that all this stuff that we don't understand. But for you, tell me about the food. Did you enjoy this whole other side that we didn't get to?
Oh yeah, I mean, to me, it's like a feast for me. It's incredible. One of my favorite restaurants was Mycovio's, which is just an amazing place. I think, and this is in Ocean Park, which is another little small community on the way to Oysterville, and Chef Paul, who is the owner, he's from the Netherlands, but it's an open kitchen. You can watch him do his magic, and very small, tiny, little intimate place with incredible food. And so I absolutely adored that place. I also loved the Salt Pub, which is in Olaco, which had amazing salmon, fish, and chips, and amazing clam chowder, and I mentioned the Waterline Pub, and so everywhere you go, you can get great fresh fish, shrimp and steamer clams, anything you want.
And Long Beach itself, the town, you just walk down the main street.
Oh,
there's like the saltwater taffy places.
Yes, and fudge,
burgers,
everything. Yeah,
It doesn't it remind you of like the iconic your beach town for the summer? Like that's why I said it feels like you're on a movie set there. Like, is this real? It's so cute and perfect. And the hotel we stayed in, I wish I could remember the name. I feel bad. It was like this company's going around and doing these remodels of old motels, and they did an amazing job. Like what you're saying about the snack basket, I'm gonna have to research and see if they're all the same people. We went in, there was water, there was everything we needed, everyone was nice, there was bike rental, like, oh, if you need a bike, go cycle, you here. It was just, I couldn't believe, like, they changed my mind about some of the the hotels and stuff that just, you wouldn't think that level of service still existed, and it did. It made me feel good to have nice service. To me,
it's just like you said. It's a very idyllic place. It has all that beachy coastal stuff that you've got, along with some really nice art galleries and crafts and. And then of course nature, but it's fun. You have the restaurants and the fudge and all those kind of fun things. And they've got these, pieces of big art, like this huge frying pan, which they say is the world's biggest, but it really is not.
Yeah,
but it's
there's one in the Midwest that is, but but you think about it, it's like, doesn't it kind of make you feel like a kid again? I think that's what it is.
Oh, absolutely. Because it brings back memories, of coastal towns and when you were a kid and all the fun things you liked to do.
You want to go to the arcade.
Yes, or you want to go you know, you want to do bumper cars, or you want to go into, you know, get your fudge, get your, you know, your, like you said, saltwater taffy, and then go get your kitschy souvenir. You know what I mean?
I
So,
know it's totally, but that's it. And the hotels are set up that way. And it was just so cool to be an independent hotel. That was just so cool. They're like, here, they even like had a broom in the hotel, like in your room to sweep off your sand because you're coming in with
that's
sand.
perfect. That's
I mean,
perfect.
who does that? You know what I mean? It was like, I've got to go
Yeah,
look them up. I feel bad. But, you know, but the Lewis and Clark, that's the other thing. There's sculptures and public art
yeah,
everywhere in this region,
yeah, yeah.
everywhere, and really paying homage to Lewis and Clark, which I just, when I got there, I had to pinch myself because I have a thing about Lewis and Clark. And, you know, and then when you think about, here we are, we're all cozy, we've got rain jackets, we got jackets, we got, you know, whatever we need in travel, right? And you think about them way back when spending winter there. Like, come on.
Right.
I know it's better than if they were in Montana or something in winter, but still, that's, you know, what
Yeah,
they went through back in those days, where it just, ah, my hat's off
yeah.
to them.
It's amazing. So, you know, when you're visiting this particular area of the country, you know, and you know, you really, it comes to life. The whole history comes to life there. And you know, I urge people, if they have not been to this special corner of the country, that it is truly magical.
Oh, and people's garages. If you see giant garages, it's because they have boats in there. That's the other thing. It's so different. You'll drive by and
Yeah.
like, why do they, is that
Yeah.
another house attached? No, it's a boat garage.
Yeah,
I learned that
definitely.
too. I learned
Definitely.
that.
Yeah.
It's so different. Before you go, I know you're going to Hawaii this year, but you went to Waikiki Beach in Washington State.
Yeah, Waikiki Beach, which is pretty funny. I mean, imagine naming that beach in you know, Long Beach Peninsula in Washington, but you know, it's named there because supposedly some I don't remember who it was, but somebody, you know, kind of died there, I guess. A soldier's body washed up there, and he was from Hawaii, and so they called it Waikiki Beach. And it's you know, it's a great little spot. It's tucked between cliffs. That's surfers like it. It's, you know, sunbathers like it. It's got a protective cove, but you know, if you're there when it's during a storm, as we're talking about, or when these tides, they call the king tides, which are exceptionally large, you'll love the epic waves there. It's pretty special. So yeah, it's kind of, everyone gets a kick out of it. They're like, "Are you going to Waikiki Beach?" And you know, it's like, if you don't know, you're like, "What are they talking about? I'm in
Ah,
Washington."
that's funny. That's funny. Ah, well, Debbie, I've always good to have you on the show. You can keep up with the Fire Monkeys adventures on blendradioandtv.com. Just don't type in Fire Monkey, but type in Debbie Stone. Same thing on nationalparktraveling.com. Just type in Long Beach Peninsula or Debbie Stone, Washington. You'll see all of our articles. You've been busy. We've got so much more coming up with Debbie, and we're looking forward to next month. What do you think you're going to be talking about next month? Are we allowed to say or no? Oh, let me give everyone the websites. Visit longbeachpeninsula.com and at thehelmhotel.com. Check that out for planning your visit up there to Long Beach. I'm serious, people. You've got to go. You got to do it. I mean, I love that you went in winter, and so did Nancy and I, because that's not normally the popular season, but it is. Just sometimes go on these off seasons because it's just more laid back, not as many, you know, tourists. And you know what I mean? And I just really encourage that. But go if you want to go in summer, go. But honestly, these off shoulder seasons, it's also better for seeing wildlife and stuff like that too. So I'm just glad you went in the winter too and appreciated it like we did.
Absolutely. And also, just to tell people, you know, sometimes in the wintertime when there isn't you know, that much going on, you know, sometimes you can get better deals on the hotels and accommodations, you know, than you can in the heart of summer when everybody, you know, and their families are going. So that, you know, that is an incentive for some people, is, you know, hey, you know, I can get this hotel at a really decent rate because I'm here in January, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So where's next?
Like you mentioned, I will be out in California, in the LA area for a little bit, but then I am going to the Big Island of Hawaii. So I will be in the Hilo area and the Kona area and Hawaii National Park, and I will be going to Mauna Kea, up to the observatory, and yeah, so
Awesome.
lots to share.
Awesome. We're excited for you. Excited to have you come back on. And everyone, again, keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. Debbie is here every fourth Tuesday. Thanks so much, Fire Monkey.
Thank you.